let's talk about the Lions. I know it's not the funnest thing to talk about, but Thanksgiving they played the Bears again, had another game in the bag, and blew to a last-second field goal by Cairo Santos. God, man, that just it's just a pain because you feel like Goff had one of his better games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think overall he was, especially because he was, supposedly injured most of the week. I think that was his. Yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously Bears caveat. The Bears aren't great, but they still have a decent defense, and I think that was what I would expect. Like if you see good Jared Goff for the rest of the year, and we get that Jared Goff, I mean, you can't really. It is what it is. You can't really put that loss on him, even though there were things that he missed. I'm sure, but like that was him getting everything he could out of what was there.
Yeah, so. And now that Josh Reynolds is your top wide receiver option, that is just still not ideal. The man was a number 4 wide receiver somewhere else, and that's your top wide receiver right now. So
yep, they do have history though, so I think they'll have a little bit of rapport. So
yeah, I mean, obviously he started out right away with that long touchdown. It kind of reminded me of the last Thanksgiving game that I remember in 2019, where it was David Blau's first career pass to Kenny Galladay. It was like 70 yards touchdown.
Still lost.
Yeah, still lost. Good time against the Bears too. DeAndre Swift also went down after 3 catches and 3 carries, and I think the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, he was playing well up to that point too.
Yeah, just obviously a game breaker after the catch for sure in that game. Jamal Williams is a nice number 2 running back to have. Hard to complain about that. And it seems like every time Godwin Igwebuike touches the ball, he does something pretty well with it. So we'll see what happens from there. I think DeAndre Swift is expected to be a game time decision this week.
Here's the thing that and I probably should have talked about this at the beginning of the season when all this stuff was going down with, like, if you're the Lions, right? This game, it doesn't even matter for this game. But if you are the Lions before the season and you realize, hey, we are not going to score very many touchdowns. We've got no weapons. We've got, 2 pretty good running backs. Our quarterback can't really push the ball down the field, but we aren't going to score very many touchdowns. Why would you not do everything in your power to get like a really, 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 really good kicker? You're going to kick a lot of field goals. It's probably going to keep you in some games and maybe even win you a couple.
You know what's even more sad?
The turnstile of kickers and not even having a kicker on the roster for a period of time.
You know what's even more sad is every one of their kickers is a starting kicker this year
in the NFL
on another NFL team. So Matthew Wright is on the Jaguars. Zane Gonzalez is on the Panthers. Randy Bullock is on the Titans. Matt Prater is on the Cardinals. Like Austin Siebert had COVID and then just got hurt while he had COVID or something. So he's done. Then they tried to get Ryan Santoso. Like that's not the best kicker that was available on the market. There's so many kickers.
I don't understand. I just don't understand the logic there. I just don't you got to realize, okay, like if you want to be competitive, which maybe they don't, and that's okay. That's fair enough. Maybe they don't this year. Maybe they want the number 1 pick. And maybe they do. That's cool. Great. But if you want to be competitive and stay in some of these games and you want to, not have these gut punches, maybe making a few more field goals this year would have made a difference. I know it would have actually. I can think of one game for sure.
One game for sure we didn't miss an extra point. That seriously, exactly. I mean, that was a tie. It was crazy.
Exactly.
I don't know, man.
It just doesn't make sense to me. If you have a kicker, if you have such a bad offense, but you have a kicker who, when you cross the 50 is suddenly a threat, right? Like Prater was. That was a nice weapon to have.
Yeah.
That suddenly you're going to score more points. I mean, suddenly the pressure's off your offense a little bit too. It's like, all right, look, we got points if we cross the 50. Maybe we don't need to be crazy. Maybe we don't, we don't need to be worried about getting the ball down to the goal line every time to be able to make a kick. So I don't know. That always irked me from the beginning. I know I haven't even brought it up, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like the thought process there just doesn't make sense. And maybe obviously they know more than I do, and they're.
Well, yeah, we've already sent 4 kickers out there to boot this year. I mean, Siebert, Santoso, Eldrick Rosas, and then Riley Patterson last week. Riley Patterson's a rookie kicker from Memphis, and I think he had like a 70% field goal percentage, which is actually pretty not good to be that's not good to be a kicker out of college and come in with a 70% field goal percentage. But No, that's the one guy they decided to choose over, Hauschka or Gostkowski. I mean, there's got to be better kickers out there.
That's what I don't understand. You've got veteran kickers. I mean, maybe they're asking for more money or something, but like, so it's like a half a season deal. Like, what? Come on. Like, these guys aren't even working right now. I guarantee you could sign them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if they really want to go work, they'll work. It's not like you have to do any sort of extracurriculars if you're a kicker.
Exactly. You just need to go kick the ball through the rubber.
You don't have to go run a marathon and do like 400-pound bench presses.
Nope.
I don't know, man.
Nope, that was dumb. Sorry, that was a rant.
No, it's a fair rant, and I'd rant right there with you. But let's talk about the Vikings game, another home game for the Lions. Probably another one of those potential winnable games that you don't totally write them off for. I think ESPN's kind of got it set at like a 68 to like 32. So, for that reason, it's not totally written off. It's a home game. Obviously, you get Kirk Cousins having one of the craziest seasons he's ever had, and obviously it goes under the radar because it's Kirk Cousins. Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison have been productive no matter who's starting. Obviously, Cook's missed a few games this year. Jefferson and Thielen doing as much as ever, with Hawkinson being our top receiver right now, just over the 500-yard plateau. Fine. Swift potentially not playing. He's over the 500-yard mark. I don't think that's the big concern, though. The defense, though, in the last 3 weeks, according to PFF, has actually been top 8. I think they had like 7. I think PFF is the 7th best defense in the last 3 weeks for the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, they've been good. I mean, they've had some guys step up. The back end has been a lot better. I think linebacker play has certainly improved. That's still a weak point, I think, but like, and then I think it's at a point now where if you're the Lions, you got to play Levi Onwuzurike. Like, you got to play him like the majority of snaps if you can.
Yeah, him and Aleem McNeil need to be out.
You got to play Aleem McNeil the majority of snaps because you actually see Onwuzurike getting better. Like, you see, because he was not very good at the beginning of the year, and people were worried about him. But like last couple of weeks, he's coming along a little bit. And it's like, okay, you just at this point, why not? You just play him as much as you possibly can because. You need to see those reps. You need those guys to continue to get better.
I think his reps will go up. We saw, obviously, the injury settlement that they gave to Deshaun Hand, and they released him this week. So they finally parted ways with Hand.
About time.
Yeah, Hand obviously is super talented, so you see why it's hard to let him go. But the man comes back from a 9-week injury, plays 9 snaps, and then is back out for another 4 weeks. And then it's like, okay, what is the point of this now? Yeah,
I mean, it's just wasted roster spot at that point. So it's unfortunate for him, but he's just, it was never going to work.
Yeah. So, and obviously Romeo Okwara out, big key edge rusher that we paid some money to. So that's kind of frustrating. Julian Okwara seems to be also one of those guys that gets better every week. Austin Bryant seems to kind of have peaked after he looked pretty good to begin the year. Charles Harris actually was in the first 3 or 4 weeks was tied for the NFL lead with sacks. And I don't think he's gotten one since week 4 again. So some inconsistency for sure. The Jerry Jacobs, a nice diamond in the rough out of Arkansas, undrafted. Yeah. AJ Parker's been a good nickel corner when we needed him.
I think there's a lot of guys out there on that defense that I like. Nobody that it's like that guy's a mainstay on a defense though. They got a lot of guys that it's like together they can probably make a passable defense. That's how I would put them. But they don't have anybody out there that you got to like game plan for. You got to worry about. They played pretty good team defense together.
Tracy Walker's one of those guys you mentioned on the back end that's on the up. So I think they have to pay Tracy. I would pay Tracy Walker this year.
Yeah.
If you can. I mean, I
beginning of the year, I was talking about how bad he was.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't right with you. We have Will Harris and Tracy Walker. We're screwed.
Like, oh, great.
I was on team played Dean Marlowe, but like Marlowe's been terrible when he's out there. So Walker's been really nice to have in the back end. Watching Jerry Jacobs develop is good. Our Warrior is as inconsistent as they come. You hope Okuda bounces back from his injuries. And if Ifeatu Melifonwu, Dan Campbell actually said in a presser that even though Melifonwu was back, we are not giving up Jerry Jacobs' starting spot because you're not going to kill the mojo right now.
True. He's playing well.
So I think that's kind of the ideology there. Anzalone is another guy that you put on a 1-year deal, but I think he's the guy maybe ever since Jamie Collins was shipped out, he's improved the defense.
He's the leader of that defense too. I mean, honestly, he knows the defense. Obviously,
He plays with a motor. He's like a Kyle Vandenbosch kind of guy.
yeah, he's a guy who plays hard. He's fun to watch. Yeah, he's got flaws. He's not the best, but he's a perfect guy, I think, to have lead your defense when you got a bunch of young guys and you don't really have a direction right
and
now.
You're constantly facing adversity. It seems like he still plays hard. The fact that you get a guy that doesn't ever give up, no matter how crappy this team appears, it's like it's a key piece to build culture. Because Campbell's a good culture coach. Maybe not a great long-term option. We'll find out. Obviously, some of his in-game management's been pretty rough, but you got to have key guys there that make you want to keep fighting.
Definitely. The in-game management, we can talk about that because that whole timeout fiasco was the one.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of the dumber.
The fact that they had 2 timeouts there and then they played off on a 3rd and short. They played off coverage. I can't believe that.
That was incredible. So basically, the explanation I got, or from what I was reading and listening to, Anzalone checked the play to a cover 2, probably the right check, but then not everybody got the check. So then Campbell felt like he had to go over and call another timeout. But you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. What? Like, come on, guys. Like, you got to know, understand what's going on here.
He called a dumb timeout, but thankfully it looked like Nagy called the timeout at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was like, ooh, that was close. Got really worried about that.
Yeah, it was all bad. It was all bad. So
yeah, it's been rough. He's definitely had some questionable in-game management throughout the year, but this game was.
And I expected some of the rough patches with that.
Rookie coach,
first time head coach, and he doesn't have a good team to cover him up. So you're going to be put in situations where it's like, okay, now I have to be an in-game management coach. I got to be a coach that can, you're not going to be up by 25 points and it doesn't matter. You're not going to be, you're going to have a bunch of close games where you got to worry about clock management, where you got to worry about, how I manage my timeouts, things like that. And I think, I don't know, he struggled with that for the most part.
So
coaches in general struggle with that, but easy way to fix it is just hire a guy that's good with it. That's his job. You got some nerd. A lot of coaches just have the nerds that just do the math in their head and they know what they're doing. Just because a head coach in the heat of the moment maybe isn't the best guy for that. So I think he'll get better at it. I mean, I think it's not always black and white. The result of this decision ultimately determines whether or not it was a good or bad decision normally, unfortunately. But he has not been great. It's been very, very lackluster there. So
despite him not being great, the Lions are actually still not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
That's incredible.
There are 62 things that have to happen for them to make the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. But basically in finish, I was looking at it. The Lions finished 6-10-1. The Vikings finished 6-10. Bears finished 6-11. Saints finished 6-11. Panthers and Falcons also finished 6-11. The football team, the Eagles and the Giants all finished 6-11. And then the Seahawks 4-11. And then the Rams are the 6 seed. The 49ers are the 5. Cardinals 1. Cowboys 4. Bucks 2. Packers 3 and Lions are 7 seed. In fact, and that would mean the Lions have to face the Buccaneers in the wild card, 2 seed for 7 seed. But so they'd lose there, all that hard work for nothing. But nonetheless, not mathematically eliminated.
Not happening. I can tell you
a loss or a tie does mathematically eliminate them, though. This week.
Yeah, well, that'll probably happen this week if we're being honest. So.
Yeah. Considering 62 different things have to happen for them. That could happen for them.
It's a lot of things.
Get eliminated. Yeah.
So it's not a good year. It's not a good year for the Lions. It just is,
But now they have to think about who do you want, Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau?
Hutchinson's a better player. I can tell you that right now. But Thibodeau might be a better.
I've definitely watched more Hutchinson because I've seen every game. But,
Thibodeau, Hutchinson's better all around. Thibodeau's probably got more speed. Maybe a better athlete overall. But
if Thibodeau blows the doors off in the combine, he might still get that
hard to pass
top
up.
Spot. Yeah, you get that top spot back. But I think right now, if you have a top spot without seeing pro day numbers or combine numbers, you might go just Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm. Hutchinson has played inside too in the past too. Obviously,
and I was going to say you could bulk Hutchinson up 20, 30 pounds even.
You could play inside.
he turns into JJ Watt. So
Exactly. He looks like JJ Watt at times.
yeah,
Like he's a freak. TJ
just a
Watt even. He kind of TJ Watt-esque.
just a real motor. I love it. He's to me. I give him the NFL comp with Kyle Vanden Bosch, but he's gonna be
Yeah.
bigger than Kyle Vanden Bosch.
That's a good comp though.